All right, guys. So I'm here in Louisville, Kentucky, at my dear friend Scott Smith's school this weekend, and I just wanted to bring you guys a little mat chat. The idea for these mat chats is basically I travel around all over the country and I teach different instructors will have me out to their schools, and there's so much technique available on YouTube. There's so much technique and positions available, information. But what I really wanted to bring you guys is kind of these mat chats where we really talk about the soul of jiu-jitsu, like the concepts, the ideas, the philosophies. There's so much experience here on the mat with me today, and so what are these guys' biggest learnings? What have they taken away from jiu-jitsu? What has helped them the most to progress? And now, because all these guys are black belts and some of them have been black belts for over a decade, right? Now in their later, after they've been a black belt for so long, what has really helped them? What are they learning now that's really having a huge impact in their game? So anyways, with me today, Adam Miller. And Adam, how many years have you been training jiu-jitsu?
Since 92.
So you've been training since 92?
93.
Damn. And you got your black belt from Jeff Curran, correct?
Pedro Sauer.
Pedro and Jeff.
Yeah.
Right? Pedro and Jeff. And Jeff is obviously, many of you guys know who Jeff Curran is, who's one of Pedro Sauer's top students, fought in MMA for many years. Yep. Was, the WEC, fought in the WEC for many years.
Even.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, so he's been around forever and represented jiu-jitsu, always wanted to represent jiu-jitsu and show the effectiveness of jiu-jitsu. So it's amazing that you have that experience to be able to train with Jeff, because that resonates with us. Jiu-jitsu is for fighting, right? And that was a big part of his thing, is how do we use jiu-jitsu in an environment where there are strikes involved. So, you come with that experience and that background and that. Scott is a black belt under Pedro Sauer, a third degree. You're a third degree as well, right?
Exactly, fourth.
Fourth degree.
It should be fourth. He'll be
fourth degree.
Well, eventually.
Yeah.
coming.
Coming. Yeah. When I see Master Sauer again.
And then you're
Fourth
to be to be a fourth degree black belt in the year, which means fourth degree black belt. Usually, if they go by the standards, it's 3 years for the first degree, 3 years for the second degree, 3 years for the third degree, and then 5 years for the fourth degree. So that's 14 years as a black belt, which is an incredible amount of time. So that's probably for you guys more time being a black belt than all of your other belts combined, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Right. And Rich, you're just getting ready to open up a school in Indiana. By the way, Scott is the owner of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu of Kentucky. Scott's been having me out to his school for the past 11 years.
Yes, 11 years.
11 years now. I've been coming almost consistently twice a year for the past 11 years. So Scott has, if you guys subscribe to the Mind Blown Club, you guys will see a lot of footage from me teaching at Scott's school, right? And there's a ton of amazing material. So I've passed on a ton of knowledge to Scott and tried to basically share everything I know with these guys. Rich, you've been a black belt for how long now?
2 years.
2 years. Got your black belt from Pedro Sauer. And the amazing thing about having Rich, when did you start training jiu-jitsu?
I was 40 years old.
So 40 years old. So for all of you guys out there that are thinking like, oh man, I might be too late to start or I'm too old to start. Rich started training at 40. How old are you now, Rich?
57. I'll be 58.
57 and got his black belt 2 years ago. So it's just doing it, just going for it. There's no better time to start than now. And if you just stick with it, right, you're going to eventually be a black belt one day. And Rich, now you're getting ready to open up a school in Indiana, right?
We did. We've been open right in a month.
So you guys are just open for a month. So that's really cool. So, I just wanted to ask you guys and talk to you guys and see, like, if you guys can share with the audience, what has been maybe one of the biggest and most powerful things that, has made an impact in your jiu-jitsu that you've learned in the past maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years that you feel like, has really, really impacted your jiu-jitsu? So maybe we'll just start with you.
Well, I'm not as good as Scott. But I am interested in the question, like, how do we age into this?
Yeah.
And so there's been some concepts that I've pulled out from you that have been game-changing concepts. Like, I picked up, I don't even know if you use this phrase, but it was in a conversation once. And I asked you, what kind of guard do you like to play? Do you remember what you said to me? You said zero guard.
Okay.
And that just kind of stuck out to me as a process because as we age into jiu-jitsu, a lot of times what happens is we hold on to a position too long, we hold on to a guard too long, we get tired, or we get hurt because we're getting folded, we're getting crunched, when a lot of times the solution is just to go zero guard. Give up the guard, the horse is dead, dismount, and already be presetting your cross-side escapes.
Right.
And that's been a huge thing for me, especially with the larger question about how I age into jiu-jitsu. And because I have a couple of rules that I try to live by. They're not my rules. I've learned them from the jiu-jitsu community. That's what's awesome about the jiu-jitsu community. We learn from each other.
Yeah.
But
and there's so many people willing to share knowledge, like you guys today, taking your time to be able to share your years of experience, and this is what all these mat chats are about. So.
Yeah, so I use Uncle Will's threefold rules for aging into jiu-jitsu. Zero guard is a definite part of that strategy, but number one, don't get hurt. So I'd rather let you pass my guard than get folded or stacked or crunched. Number two, don't get tired. When I get tired, I make mistakes. I don't care if the 20-year-old hybrid jiu-jitsu wrestler passes my guard anymore, especially not with the zero guard preset concepts I've learned from you. And then my last one is don't get caught.
Yeah.
And I live by that on the mat, and it's how I think I'm going to continue to stay on the mat.
Nice.
One day I'll be as old as Scott.
One day maybe.
So Scott, how old are you? Just so we're throwing that question out there.
I'm not as old as Rich.
Not as old as Rich, but
I'll be 55 this year.
Yeah.
So, I've had my fair share of battles, but,
you've been a black belt for how many years? coming on 15.
14
Right.
years. Yeah, 14 years. I got my black belt November 3rd, 2007. So that was when I got my black belt. And I met you 11 years ago.
2010, I think, is when I first came out, because we had just opened up my gym, Dynamics, in LA.
Yes. So the whole goal for me is as I've seen in what I've learned is simplicity. That's my number one. Head down. This is what I'm going to do. If it creates too many steps, I basically just shut it off, because it's like my body as you get older, and we're talking a little bit about aging here. You've got to have simple, effective. We just got done doing like a little bitty private that a very simple moves off some really good moves of things that you can do that I don't think anything was complicated, was it?
Nope.
It was like, and it would shut it down or put you in the zero guard in the position where you're able to capitalize. So that kind of mindset of simplicity is what I look for now. I mean, when you feel a true technique and it works over and over and over and over, it's amazing. I am envious of young strapping studs that come in at 24, 25, and they can just go for days and they can do all this cool stuff. It's like, that is so beautiful to watch, but I can't do it, right? So as I've aged out in the sense of now sharing knowledge, simplicity is the biggest thing that I picked up from you 11 years ago, and efficiency of motion, and as you're training, because we all get tired, we don't want to get tired, and when a guy starts pressing it and you believe in what you're able to do, now all of a sudden you can stay on the mats and you can train and not necessarily worry about getting finished, every single time you look up. Sure, there's a bunch of young studs, because the information nowadays, I mean, golly, you've got hiddenjiu-jitsu.com and you got all your information on the internet. I actually got mad at him, because in the early days I was getting private lessons out to Wazuli, and I looked up and he's got it all on video and everybody's getting it. I'm like, dude, but this is what he does. You have to get that information out to let people.
Well, the information, and that's the thing, is there's access to so much amazing information out there. All of the best coaches in the world, you can get access to what they're teaching and how they do things without having to fly to their school and spend a ridiculous amount of money paying for a private lesson with them, right? That it's all out there. And I think that is really what is helping so many people, the evolution of jiu-jitsu and taking jiu-jitsu to the next level, is that, man, you just have there's so much ease of access to information nowadays. When I started, I had to move to California, from Oklahoma to California, to learn from Rickson. Yeah. And now he has classes, every week online that he does.
Yeah.
So
I think that's why when you look at the blue belts and purple belts, you're like, man, that kid's good.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the information he's got, the stuff he's doing, like, that's amazing. But he's got all that, you know.
Well, think about this. Anytime you have a problem in class, you can usually go onto YouTube and type in something and figure out how to solve that problem, how to deal with that problem, right? It's all out there. And so people's ability, or the rate at which people can improve, is grown so much, because instead of waiting for the instructor to show that situation in class, you can go home and do your own research on it and figure it out. Or this guy maybe has a video on it, or that guy has a video on it, you know, or this guy's really good at that position. Let's see how he deals with it. So yeah, people's ability to, I think, get better in jiu-jitsu has grown so much, you know. And also some instructors just are not great at certain things, right? And so, but now you can learn from everyone and learn from so many different people. But I love what you say about simplicity. Obviously, I'm a big fan of simplicity. I talk about keeping it simple all the time. And one of the main concepts for me, especially when I'm breaking, because like we had some situations today that I had to break down, right? A situation with a Kimura grip and how I deal with it. And it's not something I use. I don't do the Kimura grip much, but it was a situation that you had been playing around with, that you do sometimes. And then how do we deal with this problem? And for me, it's always identify the problem. Okay, what is the problem? And when I say identify the problem, it really comes down to, okay, where's the control? What specifically is this person doing to create an issue for you? And with that situation, it was the grip on the arm. And so, okay, you have this grip on my arm, but I'm still able to move my body. So the whole body is able to move. How can I move my body, and in what direction can I move my body that's not going to create more problems? Because if I move it one way, you're going to take my back, right? If I move it the other way, it's easy for you to get on top and maybe start to finish, start to attack. And so we figured out some things about, okay, well, if the grip is the main problem, let's see how we can deal with this grip. Like, can we break the grip, right? That's a question. And then we started playing around. Well, let me see how I can break this grip. Can I pluck it, or can I peel it? And okay, well, if you push it against my body, now I can't do that. Can I create space? And so it was really kind of a cool process that we went through together.
It was a lab.
Based on our experience, right? And then, you know, I would play with you, and you do it here, you do it to me, and then we would say, hey, try to create a problem, or try to push your arm and see if I can still do it when you straighten your arm, or see if you can do it. And we slowly kind of figured out a very simple solution, right? And that was really cool, because for me, it's so important to keep things simple. My philosophy is always, let's identify the problem and be very specific on what's creating the problem. And let's see if we can solve that, deal with it in the least amount of steps possible, because, you know.
And that's what you've done with your guard passing strategy. You know, simple systems scale and complex systems fail, right? So instead of having to worry about, I need a guard pass for this, a guard pass for this, your pressure patch, so your avalanche pass, I don't know what you guys call it these days, but
yeah,
I know what it feels
calls like avalanche pass, right?
Yeah, it's like a one size fits all, very simple thing. And the thing that I love about it too is, you know, again, it's going to allow me to age into jiu-jitsu and keep my body safe. Because instead of an open guard passing formula where I have to worry about getting the grip right, then I got to use some kind of speed to get past you, and only then, after I connect to you, can I create pressure. I just connect to you, and you get the pressure, and then the speed could be tank speed. It doesn't even have to be fast.
Slow.
That's simple and effective.
One concept to rule them all, right? That's what I tried to do with the guard passing, is just really try to break down that guard passing into, well, what are we really trying to achieve here, right? That was I need to get close to you, right? I need to get my chest to your chest, and what are you trying to do? Well, you want to stop my chest from getting to your chest, so you need to either create space or use frames against it, right? Create frames. And so how do we deal with frames, right? How do we, if I put weight distribution on you, well, that will stop you from being able to move away from me, because now we're connected, right? And as you move, I move with you. So yeah, that was, it took me actually a long time to, I shared with a lot of people where that came from, how that idea first came into my head. It was actually, I was struggling one day to pass someone's guard in class. I was a brown belt at the time, and my training partner was a pro belt at the time. Very, very tough training partner. One of those guys that's really tall. He was 6'4", lanky, 6'4", 185 pounds, really muscular, long, lanky legs. Struggling one day to pass his guard, and Rickson said, "Henry, guard passing is all about weight distribution and angles." That was it. He said to me, and I was just like, and it just resonated. I knew it was really powerful. He didn't say anything else. That's all he said.
So he didn't show you. He kind
He
of
didn't
gave you
show
this
me.
Rosetta
He
Stone.
just said, Henry,
right?
guard passing is just weight distribution angle. And then he went with my buddy John and ripped through his guard like 5 times in like a minute and a half. It was just so easy. He was just like, John, do whatever you want to me. Blah, blah, blah. And he was just pass. And then pass again. And then pass again. And I was just like, man, I just spent 5 minutes trying to pass this guy's guard and I'm exhausted. And a couple times I fell into a triangle and had to like fight myself out. And, you know, I almost got armbar, almost got choked and, you know, kept losing my posture. And, you know, to see him do it so effortlessly was just like, okay, well, that just sat in my head for years. It took me really 12 years to really understand it and then be able to teach that to other people and break it down. But yeah. So Rich, you're the oldest out of all of us, and also you started the latest in life, right?
Yep.
And now you're also a brand new school owner. So anything that you can share with you know, the viewers about your experience, what has helped you, what are the lessons that maybe you've learned in jiu-jitsu to help you start at 40 and get to a black belt level, you know?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, from a jiu-jitsu perspective, of course, I always wanted to move forward but didn't have the knowledge. I had the heart for it and it made sense in my mind, but I didn't have the tools to apply it. So that was when you came in 2010, it was like the holy grail. Like, I've been doing that with no knowledge. So that got fixed, and the guard pass and all that. But for the most part, jiu-jitsu for me has been more what it's done for my personal life. But at my age, I've never had the ability to catalog all these volumes of jiu-jitsu. So it has to be very basic, you know, pass the guard. But the landing pad, that guy's chest being that landing pad. So it converted me to where that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to put this on you, and the rest will happen on its own for me. You know what I mean? And I'm a roll junkie. Even though I'm old, I want to roll. If there's too many steps, I feel like I'm back in school, and that wasn't a good place for me to get the butterflies. I want it nice and simple, maybe 3 steps, or I can't. I've probably chucked more jiu-jitsu in the last 5 years than I've accepted. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So Rich, I mean, one of the things that I hear you're saying is really understanding the concept. The idea is what helped you, not having to memorize so many techniques and just so you have an idea of this is what you're trying to achieve, and basically you figure out your own way to do it regardless of what position you're in or where you're at. You're just going to kind of figure it out. And that's, you know, obviously something that I really try to, anytime I teach, I always try to teach the concept and the philosophy along with the technique. I always feel it's really important to have both. I always feel it's important to help the student to understand what are they trying to achieve, and then the technique is just the method by which they're going to go about doing it, right? So this is the idea, like, hey, this is what you're trying to do when you're guard passing, or this is what you're trying to do when you're trying to maintain the mount or whatever. This is the idea, you know, you want to keep this position. And this is the method by which you go about doing it. And that's where the technique come in. So I really feel it's always important to kind of have both. You can't just teach concepts and philosophy unless someone already has a lot of technique, understanding of technique. But teaching a beginner student just techniques without the concept and the idea, the understanding, really it just leads them to kind of a game where they're just memorizing. They don't really know jiu-jitsu. They just have a collection of movements that they've memorized, right? And that's what I've always tried to do. Is I always try to, for me, it's been always important to really pass on the art, pass on really the understanding of jiu-jitsu and a deep level of understanding. So not just having students that have a collection of techniques that they know how to do, but the essence, right?
For sure. And then the amount of energy you put into it, that was the real goal. Of course, that's the benefit to starting old. You can't rely on any of that. So you've got to leave your ego at the door. Maybe as a white belt, I might have, but now I couldn't care less. I want to be deep down the rabbit hole. Doesn't work. But I try not to, as you said, I try not to exceed that 30% mark.
Yeah.
You know, I want to say something about Rich's, because we were actually in Chicago. I don't even know if you heard this, Henry. But we were in Chicago, and he had this epiphany. Because, I mean, we traveled everywhere you were at. We would, you know, you were up at Dan's. And we were driving back, and he got it. He goes, man, I get it now. I get what the relaxation. This is what I got to do. And I'll never forget him talking about that. And sure enough, he did. He's got this mindset on how he rolls, and It's just different, unless he's rolling with me and then he's trying to kill me. But that's another story.
It's called running for your life.
Well, I don't know about all that, but no, I noticed and seen an amazing change in him. It was like it's this bulb went off, and I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, that's awesome. I need to start saying, yeah. It was like he was just. It was on another level, and I never forgot that. And I remember having a conversation coming back from Chicago where he's all giddy because he's like, he finally got it. Hey, man, this is what I got to do. And he did it. And he's 57 years old. You probably walk around like you're 63, but I mean, that's another story. But I mean, and you still get out on the floor and you roll and you train and you do all that. I mean, it's inspiring, man.
You came to visit Team Curran once.
I did.
You remember that?
I do.
That's back in the day.
In Crystal Lake.
Yep.
And but your game's different now because of.
I feel like
yeah.
No injuries. I mean, everything's great, and I can roll hour and a half, 2 hours, and be back the next day.
He's one of the 2 hour guys. We have 2 hour, 3 hour rolls. You and who? Dugan. Two guys hit 2 hours consistent rolling, one after the other. I was going to create T-shirts. Then the goal was 3 hours. If you could hit the 3 hour roll nonstop. Arm goes off, roll. Arm goes off, roll. And you just keep going. He got to 2 hours.
That's my goal this year.
Well, that's efficiency, right? And that's what we're always trying to achieve in jiu-jitsu.
Breathing, too. I had the breathing down before, but it's all,
Well, anyways, guys, thank you guys all for sharing your knowledge and your experience with me. I always learn. I always try to learn from everyone I'm around, and all of you guys. And good luck on Gracie Jiu-Jitsu of Indiana.
Yep.
And then
most of all, thank you.
Teaching the next 2 days. So hopefully we'll put on another amazing seminar, which will be up in the Mind Blown Club.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Love it.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. It helps me to be able to produce more awesome content for you guys.